All right. Thank you all so much for got it, joining me for How Passion Can Propel Your Career. Uh, what I did have was a little workbook, but I will tell you when to take notes and write it down, and we'll figure out how I can share these documents with you. I am Dr. Elizabeth Carter. And I first, as I mentioned in my keynote, was the fact that only 1 out of 3 employees are currently engaged in our organizations. And that is horrible because there is so much work that needs to be done. There are so many initiatives that we are trying to achieve in our organizations. The fact that there are 2 out of 3 of us in our teams that are not really interested is challenging. And I believe it is because we're not all operating in our passion. And I know we can't be in our passion 100% of the time, but at least we need to know that every single day we are bringing joy to ourselves in what we do and to whoever we serve as far as our customers that we're serving in our organization. Today, I want to share more about how you can have passion propel your career. I will talk about again the lessons that I shared in my presentation. I'll share with you some steps in what I call the Elevate Your Value Blueprint. And I am a true learner. I always want people to walk away with some type of action plan, information, something they're going to do right away so that we know that this time you spent with us has been valuable. First, a little bit about who I am, and I shared some of this in my presentation. My dad was from Trinidad and my mother was from the USA. And I think, and I won't generalize, but I find that many parents who have come to the US from elsewhere want their kids to be either a doctor or a lawyer. That's just all they know from when they're coming over. So I was supposed to be a lawyer. And I saw many of you in the chat who said, hey, I was supposed to be something else. I'm not. I am a lawyer and I may or may not enjoy it. So that has been phenomenal. And because I did not become a lawyer, I felt I was drifting. I hadn't found my way. I hadn't found my passion. I didn't know where I was going to fit in the world. And that caused me to have a lot of starts, stops, restarts. And some of my dreams I had early on pretty much disappeared. Put in the 1 if you've had a dream that you abandoned and you're like, it's not going to happen. Forget about it. I'm kind of on my way. That's it. So put a 1 in the chat. What I have done since that drifting point in my life is that I have had a successful and stressful upward journey of over 25 years in the insurance industry in finance. And in that 25 years, I earned my PhD, as I mentioned, really more about me being an overachiever and trying to offset the disappointment. I am currently a vice president with Highmark Health, a Blue Cross Blue Shield carrier in Pennsylvania, based out of Pittsburgh. I am a mentor and coach to many individuals who I love talking to about what they're doing, what they're working on, where they're going. How can I help them? How can I help them align themselves so that they have a fulfilling and really fruitful career? I am a speaker and I am a 6-time best-selling author. So the lessons that I shared in my keynote, and because of my upbringing, that is what really drove these items of my lessons. First, about being a dreamer. We always can't be everything. I should say we should never be everything to everybody. We have to know who we are and understand the value that we bring to the table and ensure that we come first and we are living our own dreams. Second was about passion can be birthed anywhere. So often when I talk to employees about their passion, it's pretty much right there. I just had to help them figure out how they can utilize it in the space where they are today, or think about where else they could lend their passion as they work to get better aligned between what they're doing and what their passions are. Third was the investment. And often in our organizations, there are certain areas of educational opportunities that they provide for you, but it's really around how to get the current job you have done. Often we should, and we all should, invest in ourselves because remember, and this is part of the passion piece, you are not the company. If the company lets you go, who are you? That was one aspect I learned during my journey, was that for so long I thought I was the company. I was never Elizabeth Carter. I was always that person who worked at X or Y employee. But when you're no longer the employee of that company, who are you? And we'll talk a little bit about that as we get to my steps. So you need to invest in yourself so that you are clear that you have all the skills you think you need so that you can be and do whatever it is you want to be. And last is never underestimate the power of the passion. People clearly know what interests you and what doesn't. And in my story, when I talked about the fact that the finance people felt I really enjoyed the training, I really did. Because when I talked about it, I lit up. My voice changed. When I talked about other parts of my role, I wasn't so passionate about it. And that is where you will wake up energized. You're energized during the day. You go home energized. And everything else that's not aligned to your passion just kind of falls to the side. But you have to make sure you have that balance because that will allow you to thrive, be resilient, and be able to take on anything. So, again, in thinking about how we leverage our passion, it really is have dreams, be open to opportunities, invest in your future. But all of this comes from having confidence. So often we run into imposter syndrome, fear of failure, becoming complacent. And that starts to stifle our creativity, our innovation, our growth, our passion. So, what I've done as I have evolved in my career, I have this framework called Elevate Your Value. And these steps, these main categories, I call them the yups. Because when I tell them to you, it's not like it's rocket science. It's not like it's new. These will be things you've heard before. And you will be like, yup, I've heard that before. Yup, I heard that in the last workshop. Yup, my manager told me that. Yup, I read that. But we don't do it. If we always knew and did what we knew we're supposed to do to elevate our value, stand strong on who we are, we wouldn't need these trainings. But I find that marketing says people need to hear something at least 7 times before it resonates. So for some of you, this may be the first time you hear this. For others, it may be the 17th time you heard it. But hopefully, from my voice, there'll be something that makes you transform, makes you think differently, makes you think about what you're doing today and how you could provide some additional value to yourself and who you serve. First is set up, then show up, and step up. And we will lean into each one of these next. First, in the setup, that is about your mindset. Again, so often we get caught up in the day to day, friends, families in our ear, thinking about what our parents wanted us to be, what we are not going to be. We probably infuse that into our own children around what we would like for them to be. But what happens is over time, we have experiences that will change our way of thinking, change our behaviors, change the way we move in life. So we first have to think about how much of your past are you dragging around with you that could be blocking your passion? Usually, especially in corporate, it is some situation that happened years ago where someone did something, said something that sat on your heart and still sits there. We have to think about how we can get past that because that other person has moved on. It's probably not even thinking about you. And here you are years later saying, oh my God, so and so did this to me. I can't believe it. And we're still talking about it. And we are being held back and they have moved on. So think about what is holding you back today. Second is clarity. When I talk to employees, they tell me that they're stuck. They don't like what they're doing. They would love to do something else. And I say, well, what is that? And I get a lot of, I don't know. In order to be clear on how you will get to where you want to go, you need to have a clear destination. Put in the chat a number 2 if you are clear on your destination. Number 3, if you're not quite clear on your destination. I'd like to see that. 2 for clear, 3 for not clear. All right. See, we have lots of 3s. Thank you for your transparency. So that is where a lot of the problem occurs because we're not clear because we're afraid. We're afraid to shift. We're afraid to possibly tell someone what we really want to do for fear of judgment. It's clear. We don't want to be judged. We are fine in what we're doing. We do it very well. We know exactly what's expected. And to deviate takes a lot of work. I could go on for days talking about how I had to sell my leadership on why I wanted to get a second master's degree in something other than finance. The first year, they wouldn't pay. The second year, I showed them how what I was learning in this master's program in education, I was taking my projects for school and using them inside my team. And the second year, they paid for the program. So having clarity and being able to articulate how you're going to get there and also knowing the value you will bring when you get there, that is all about mindset and changing what you're telling yourself and what you are saying to others about who you are and what you want to be. The third piece of setup is, have you identified your passion? And the true test, and we've heard this one before, if you would do what you loved and not be paid for it, what is that? Think about that. What are some things that you enjoy doing and you could do it for free all day, every day? Now, the best part of that is you can get paid to do what you love. We just have to find that sweet spot. We call it the zone of genius for you. The second piece is showing up. And this is coming out from the shadows. Often, again, we become so comfortable in what we do. We think we're confident, but we're not confident to step out of our comfort zone. I heard once someone said, the comfort zone is the danger zone because nothing good ever happens there. And that is so true. The growth is in the uncomfortableness. The growth is in you leaning in. The growth is in you raising your hand and showing up in places you hadn't shown up in the past. But there has to be some sense of confidence. And I will share with you, and it's a shame you can't see me, but I am an introvert. And no one believes that, but I really am. So for me to be able to step into places that no one knows me, I have no idea what to expect. It's a lot of work. But I know that for me, the future could be in that next conversation I have with someone I don't know. And that's what keeps me motivated to keep showing up. And even showing up where I wasn't even invited. I just show up and people look at me like, what is she doing here? But I'm there to gain information, to learn, and to grow. The other piece of show up, and I forgot my little photo here, is about remaining relevant. Right now, I'm seeing items in the chat around, the concerns in the job market today. We have to remain relevant, and that is why the investment in yourself is so critical. You must ensure that you are relevant with information happening in your industry, in your passion area, and in your network. Again, because you never know what will happen. And these are the skills, tools, and people that you will need to be able to show up someplace differently. Often, people are surprised when they have a job change or something else happens and they're not ready for something different because they didn't have any training. They weren't thinking about knowing what the next set of technology happening is. They weren't understanding what's happening in the world of competitiveness. When we think about supply chain, what's happening there? We're thinking about the economy, spend patterns, what's going on in the foreign countries. All of that we need to stay abreast of because that information will allow us to be conversational and display our value and understanding of what's going on. And that will allow us to be offered different opportunities that would align to our passion. Next is step up. This is about visibility. So when we think about setup, we've got our mindset, we've shifted our mindset, we are ready to move from the back of the room to the front. The show up is all right, we're walking to the front, we are confident, and now here we are. The spotlight is on us. We are now visible. People want to talk to us because they know we have something to say and value to add. The one question is, what is your brand? And this is something you want to think about and understand. Does your brand externally match what you think your brand is? So, for example, for me, again, for many people, my brand is about training and development. And that's okay, but my discipline is in finance. So I have to always ensure that people understand I have this very unique brand of both. And I don't want to lose 25 plus years of finance because I have this wonderful passion for training and development. So my brand is that. And it took a while for people to understand I have both. But with my new role I have in the clinical services area at Highmark Health, I am able to leverage both. So I actually reinvented my brand a bit to what I wanted it to be by stepping away from both arenas and doing something totally separate and new where I could reestablish my brand. And we sometimes have to do that and help people understand that's who I was yesterday. That is not who I am today. Let me show you what's different. Let me show you who I am in the space of today. and help you get used to the fact that this is my new brand and help people start to articulate that. So it really is about what people are saying about you, especially when you're not in the room, and ensuring that it's the right thing that they're saying. And the other piece of stepping up is about when we speak. What do we say? And I have this beautiful word here called profound. Because when we open our mouths, first of all, we are being judged before we say anything. So when we say something, it's got to be really good. And I say it must be profound in that it positively reflects our finest observations, uniqueness, intelligence, and determination. And that will come through with the passion. Again, you can't see me, but I know you can hear it in my voice that this is so important to me that people work in their passion because that is absolutely how you can propel your career, move into new spaces, and have people recognize you for who you are. One of the interesting dynamics of my role today is that I am a finance person in the midst of clinical people. So when I ask questions, I'm asking to add value and to learn because I'm learning. This is all new for me. And it's wonderful when my peers have accepted me knowing that I'm not a clinician, but they really enjoy my uniqueness and different thoughts about what I'm hearing and my ability to add insight as a non-clinical person to what's going on. And that's what I want for all of you to be in spaces where people are looking for you to add value, to ask questions, provide insight. Let them know from your perspective it's different, but we all operate in different spaces. We all seeing things through different rose-colored glasses, and what makes a great world. And as cultivators, that is what our company needs. Those thought partners, those who are not afraid to set up, show up, and step up. So those were the yups. Put a 4 in the chat if you're like, yup, I've heard some of those before. Yup, I've haven't done it. Yup, I'm behind. Yep, I need to get started on something here. Put a 4 in the chat if that is you. All right, thank you. Now I'm seeing chat. Thanks, Tiffany. Most definitely. Lots of 4s. Thank you, thank you, thank you all. And I do have, and without again, I had a little workbook where I had you all work through as I'm talking about these steps, but I'm sure you all are taking notes. Thank you, Victor, 44444. How you can continue to evolve in this space of having your passion propel your career. And I do have here, and thank you. I saw Chris put it in the chat early. If you could put it out there again, but I have it here. I do have a free gift for all of you if you go to my website. And then just one comment I also have for you when you get the free gift, it'll also come back to you with a chapter from one of my books I wrote. This one called Gaining Access to Lead Others. Let chemistry, confidence, and communication increase your effectiveness when leading others and being led. And I share with you a chapter pertaining to confidence because that is clearly where I know I had trouble as I was navigating my passion and my purpose and my position that I held in my companies. And it really was about how to overcome obstacles. And usually they're verbal obstacles, usually a no, I don't like it, not now, not today, not ever. And what I share with you is that part of my book, along with some activities around how do we get past this notion of overcoming obstacles, because that is an area that can keep you down forever if you can't get back up quickly and recover and not A, take it personally, and B, not beat yourself up about what happened in the situation. What that free gift download is a checklist. And I have a QR code here. If you had your phone handy, you can go ahead and scan the QR code. But again, Chris put the item in the link in the chat. Thank you. It's a quick checklist, and it talks about some of the items I just discussed. And it really is for you, just quickly, where are your areas of opportunity? What are some items that you can reflect on right now that says, what has been holding me back? Am I comfortable being uncomfortable? And begin to formulate some thoughts about what you can do differently. And again, I am big on action planning. I have what I call the 3-2-1 action plan. And these are the steps. First, review your notes. And again, we'll share the materials that you can look at, but I'm sure if you're like me, I'm a heavy note taker and that you've been taking notes. And thank you all for your comments in the chat. Second, pick 3 items that you heard that came to you as you reflect later on today. Me, I'm a delayed thinker. I'll go to a workshop, and then in the evening when I have a chance to debrief, I'm like, oh my God, I have a whole bunch of ideas. Pick 3 that you think would have the most impact. Of the 3, pick 2 that you will do tomorrow. And last, one problem we have is accountability. So, for accountability purposes, share one of your action items with someone else so that they can check in on you, see how you're doing. They may even be, a benefactor of the change, and they will let you know, hey, oh my God, I see that you are doing X. That's great. I love that. So have someone be your accountability partner. They always say if you don't write it down, it doesn't get done. For me, if I don't tell somebody, it doesn't get done. So whatever your method is of accountability, please go ahead and do that. And I will take some questions. We have 10 minutes here, I believe. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes, absolutely. And we have a couple of questions that have come into the Q&A. First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Carter. That was wonderful. I learned so much. The couple of questions that we have over in the Q&A, the first one is there any concern that relying on passion can contribute to burnout? So if you have any thoughts about how burnout plays into this, that would be great.
Yes. So for a person who went to bed at 3 a.m. this morning and got up at 7, yes, it can do that, because what I find is that I catch a second wind at about 11 p.m. And I laughed because I committed to a team yesterday morning that I would go to bed earlier, and I went to bed later. So I'm bad. So, but the I find that people burn out from things that they don't enjoy doing, where they get energized from the things they do enjoy doing. But I will say, plan your days so that you don't create overwhelm in the areas in which you're getting paid to do. So for me, it's the main thing is the main thing. So the main thing is the job that commands a salary and my time and my brain power and my efforts. And then my side passion here, which I'm doing in both spaces, and I have my own company, Appeal, where I do coach individuals. I make sure that I have my to-do list, but I know it can't all get done. So I would say balance your time, and balance is a bad word. Create harmony in the right places, but always take a break, do something fun. Don't work all day and then everything else suffers. So I would really say just be deliberate about how you plan your day and make sure you have time for rest, relaxation, fun, family, whatever it is that you do to relax you. And please, stay focused on your own wellness.
That's great. Thank you. And one of the things I really like about all of the advice that you've shared so far has been this combination of the attitude or the, sort of internal work that has to happen and the actual steps that you have to take. So thank you for sharing both of those kind of
Absolutely.
aspects.
Thank you.
So we have another question from the Q&A, and that is from Penelope. Thank you, Penelope. Penelope would like to learn a little bit more about how to merge passion with your actual job, and is talking a little bit about how it's hard for people with a lot of potential who can be seen as job hoppers, right? Um, to HR recruiters and so forth. So if you have any thoughts on trying to make sure that you're still sort of hireable while exploring some of these different things that you are passionate about, that would be helpful.
Yes. So what I did, and this is how I ended up meeting Lisa at Cultivate, was that I raised my hand, or someone, when people know your passion, you could be or may be selected for projects that allow you to shine in that space. So what had happened with me at Highmark was that when I came into the company 5 years ago, they knew, my manager knew, because it's on my resume, that I had this PhD. Well, I almost finished my PhD. I was working on a PhD in training and development, but had all this finance experience. And in the interview, I always disclose everything that I do so that they clearly understand what they're getting. So that's the first piece. So what happened was there was a training development for finance initiative that was being stood up by the CFO at the time, and they needed someone to lead it. And because I had this passion and my manager knew that, she offered my name up to assist in that project, and that was called Evolve for Highmark Health. And because I had that unique skill set, I had my full-time finance job I was doing, but also working to stand up this financial acumen training, development, leadership program for the finance organization. So it was wonderful that I got to do both in the space. Now, depending on where you are, you may need to seek out those who have opportunities that play into your passion. And of course, always ask your leadership if you can participate if they're not quite aware of all of your interests. I always find that's a great conversation, especially now we're in January. I'm sure many of us are getting ready to go through that, I won't say arduous, but wonderful performance review process where we have those conversations about last year goals, aspirations. Now's a great time to have that conversation. There may not be anything right now, but if people need to know. Closed mouths don't get fed. So if people don't know what else you are interested in doing, they won't know to remember your name. So that gets back to branding and visibility. So I would encourage you, if you see an area of opportunity that helps you lean in, raise your hand or have a conversation with your manager about your aspirations. And people think, oh, then I say I'm thinking of quitting. No, you're not. You're not leaving. You're just wanting to leverage what you're doing to be more engaged. Gets back to that Gallup survey where only 1 out of 3 of us are engaged. So this would increase the engagement of yourself if your leader and manager can help you figure out how to leverage both. And I hope that answered your question.
I love that. And the closed mouths don't get fed is, I think, maybe the quote of the day. That's a really good one. And another thing that I'm kind of hearing in some of the things that you're talking about around passion is the relationship building aspect, right? If you have a relationship with
Yes.
your manager and the other people around you that can see your passions, it seems like that has really opened up a lot of opportunities in your experience.
Yes.
Right. So we do have another one that's actually very similar and about kind of being leveraged, being under leveraged in this case, from Janet. Thank you, Janet, for sharing this question. Janet says, first of all, she loved your talk and wonders if you can talk about if you have passion and belief in yourself, but you're finding a lot of external resistance, right? So, for example, people saying that you don't have the experience or that are using other excuses and then under leveraging your talents in the organization.
Yes, that's a good one. The people in your ear saying you don't have enough experience. The challenge. So the question then is, what else do you think I need, or here is my substitute for what you think I don't have. Because we how we excel is either through exposure, experience, or education. All right, exposure, experience, education. So that if you don't have the education, you probably have the experience to do similar, or you've been exposed to uh, areas in which you are able to somewhat acquire information. I think people um, think, oh, I don't have XYZ education, but often how many of you have degrees that you don't use? So let's put a 5 in the chat if you have an undergraduate degree that you are not even using. So I see some 5s. So that's the thing. It really is about the education and the learned education and the learned experience that will allow you to grow, especially in a company where you already know the people, you know the process, you know the politics. That the fact that they're saying you don't have the experience, it really is, you probably do. It really will be, how do you articulate your accomplishments you've had so far to say that what I have done definitely is more powerful than what I don't have.
Excellent, thank you. And we have 2 more minutes and one more question. So let's wrap up with this one from one of our wonderful team members. And she's asking, as an introvert, in what ways have you built the confidence to pursue your dreams? What would you say to a person that has a passion but is anxious about stepping into a zone of discomfort? And I really relate to this question as an introvert myself, so I'm excited to hear your thoughts for those of us who share your introversion.
So what has helped me is public speaking. I joined Toastmasters, is going on 11, 12 years now. I always enjoyed speaking, and that put me in the uncomfortable space of being in front of people that I did not know. But I always spoke on a topic that I knew very well, and that alleviated some of that discomfort and allowed me to step out of my introversion for a little while. Now, what introverts, the people think that they're shy, quiet. That's not true. What it is that they need to debrief by themselves after some major event. So, for example, after this, I have to get off and like take a nap. Not take a nap, but I have to debrief by myself because this is a lot of work and effort, but I love it and enjoy it. So, what I would say is get in front of more people and talk about what you enjoy and that you are great at, and they will never know that you're an introvert. You will become more confident. And what I also do is I surround myself with people who are my cheerleaders. Those could be your coaches, mentors, sponsors, allies, family, best friends, spouse. Have people around you that continue to celebrate you. You don't want to be around people who are just tolerating you. You want people who celebrate you. That will keep your energy and your ego up. And I surround myself in my home office here with all of my accolades to remind me of what I have been able to accomplish on those days when I feel so defeated. I'm like, I don't even know why I got up today. So we need things to offset that, especially as introverts, to re-energize us in our own way. So hopefully that helped. And we are 1 minute over. I'm so sorry, Chris.
That was absolutely perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Carter, and thanks everybody for joining us. Please feel free to continue this conversation in the Cultivators community. We would love to keep talking about all of the wonderful learnings from Dr. Carter after maybe a little time for some introverted, downtime to reignite your passion. So thank you so much again, Dr. Carter. We'll see you hopefully throughout the conference today.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for your comments in the chat. I so appreciate the interaction.